Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about the TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Supernatural. A great season finale. A lot of stuff went down this episode that we're going to have to break down bit by bit. First of all, we do have Sam kind of introducing everyone from the other world into how things work in this world. And it's like, oh, you call our world the apocalypse? It's kind of like that line from Bobby. But it's also interesting because I'm very interested to see kind of how that progresses, because obviously it's like, this is probably like a couple days after the previous episode, I'd assume, because it probably took a while for Lucifer and Michael to gather all the ingredients needed for the spell and stuff like that. But nevertheless, it's them kind of getting acquainted. They're all kind of living in the nearby town to the bunker and everything. So that whole Maggie being murdered thing kind of caught me by surprise. I was like, oh, because I thought, I was like, oh man, is there someone evil amongst the group or something like that? It's like, who would do that? Like, that's what it seemed like it was about. But it turns out not to be the case. It was actually Lucifer. That kind of, I was like, oh, I was really surprised by that. I was like, oh, it's like, oh, its eyes. I was like, oh, did something else get her? It's like, no, it was Lucifer. It's kind of sad because we had this episode kind of feeding, like, Jack has the same nightmares that Dean does, because it's like Dean sees all the people he couldn't save, and the same thing for Jack. That's what was eating him up. And that's what Lucifer was able to feed on, like, all of his doubts. It's like, oh, every time we try to do things right, like humans, things kind of go wrong. And he was like, yeah, you're right. Because it's like, for Jack, he feels like every time he tries to do the right thing, it just ultimately comes back and blows up in his face, and he causes more harm than good, and he blames himself. You know, the others understand. I even love Jack being like, wait, you shot me. He's like, yeah, I did it to get your attention. Because when Jack kind of gets so because he blamed himself, because it's like, this is another person. Maggie was someone he was supposed to protect, and like, she died under his watch, and it's like, he blamed himself. So he was lashing out because he was blaming the dude Nate, because she thought Nate was responsible. It turned out he wasn't. So, but that's why Lucifer was able to kind of pull at those strings. We have Michael back in town. It was kind of interesting, his thought process of like, hey, I don't blame Sam, like Lucifer being like, hey, I don't blame Sam for all that happened. I mean, to be fair, all the stuff that I've done to him, he was kind of justified in all he's done. But it's like, hey, me and you, we're in this together, trying to talk to Jack. It's like, oh, we could do such beautiful and great things together. And it's like, there was a part of me that wanted to believe that he was trying to be a good father. At the end of the day, I still know that everything he was doing was because it's like, oh, I can be a great father. I can be a better father than my dad was. I could create a perfect world, blah, 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 blah. It's like his reasons were all selfish reasons. He was trying to compensate for his life being completely empty. He had no one. So he tried to make up for it by having Jack. That's all it was, because he never had a family, because most of his family kicked him aside. Dad left him behind. He even says himself, his brothers have all tried to kill him on multiple occasions. So, of course, things that kind of lead to where they are. So for him, he tried to fill that void with Jack, but in the end, Jack was just a means to an end for him, because he's like, I even like the fact that Jack kind of forced him to tell the truth. Has he done that? I don't think he's done that before this season, and that was kind of interesting, even forcing someone like him to admit what he had done. I liked what he almost killed Michael too, because like he started using his powers, and it's like, even as powerful as Michael is, kind of I mean, to be fair, it's like Nephilims are supposed to be powerful. It's so interesting to me, because it's like Nephilims are half human, yet you can end up, because he is a son of an archangel, he's definitely stronger than an archangel, which is just interesting to me. I did not see that whole situation of him stealing Jack's grace like that. I did not see that coming. That caught me by. I was like, what? I was completely surprised by that. That caught me off guard. And now it's like, oh man, now you got Lucifer souped up, and then, Sam latches on, but it's like, he was going to go kill Jack, because it's like, oh, I tried with you, I wanted to, he said, I told you all the things you wanted to hear. It's like, you piece of crap. Like, you're trying to act like you were being a good father and everything, and all you did was you just failed on every level. You had an opportunity, a chance to make things different, but the fact of the matter is, everyone knew you weren't going to change. That's why, and that's interesting too, because that's something I threw up last episode. I was like, oh, I hope when Jack finds out, he's probably going to turn against him. It's like, no, he didn't, because, he understands why they did it, and even Lucifer admitted it's like, yeah, I kind of deserved it for all I've done. So it's not like he hated Sam for what he did. So, but it was an opportunity, because now Jack saw his dad for who he really was. It's like, wait, you left Michael, you brought Michael here, you wanted me, and you're going to leave the entire world to be destroyed. Under his reign, you knew what he was going to do, and you were just going to leave, and you not even tell me, So like I said, Lucifer had his chance, but once again, his obsession with power, which is all this was about. And it's like, well, if I can't do it with Jack, then I'm just going to take your powers and do it myself. So he even is beating on Jack, because it's like, oh, I gave you a chance, even willing to kill Sam. And then Dean makes the choice. It's like, Michael's in too much of a weakened state, but it's like if he was with his vessel, that being Dean, then he would be at full strength. Which is interesting. I think it's a very nice touch they did, because obviously it's a reverse of like season 5, because Sam became Lucifer's host. Like, I mean, obviously they were always destined to be, but I like that they turned this around, because that never was a situation for Dean. And now we get that side of things, interestingly enough. So we had the like Goliath versus Goliath battle between Dean and Lucifer, which is interesting because there was a whole situation of like he was basically putting Sam against Jack. Basically, it was like, one of you has to die, one of you has to kill the other. And moment like Sam picked up the knife, I thought he was just going to naturally kill himself anyway. Like, I felt like that was a progression, but it was like, no, he want Jack to do it. It's because the only one, because I guess like given enough time, Jack could recover his powers and he could be the one to kill Lucifer. But then Jack was kind of like, no, you do it. Like, you're the one. Because it's just this beautiful, like, I love that, like, immediately, like, he is kind of like the little kid brother for them, because it's like, all they do is for family. It's like, no matter what Jack has done, like, he might have messed up here and there, but it's like, everyone makes mistakes, and family is there for each other, like, no matter what comes next. And so, Dean did this because he gave himself over to Michael. It was supposed to be a one-time deal for Sam and Jack's sake, so... And look, and it's crazy to believe it, but Lucifer's dead. Didn't expect that. Did not expect that. Like, I mean, he's dead. And no, like, I mean, there's so many infinite worlds out there, but I mean, at least in the 2 worlds we're kind of concerned about, Lucifer's dead. Sadly, that ends with Michael being here on Earth, and the fact of the matter is he's in Dean's body, so... That's going to be a tough situation, because like, I don't know about Jack's situation, because obviously like a lot of his grace was stolen by Lucifer, but like, I wonder will he ever get all of that power back? And because he is a Nephilim and as powerful as he is, it took a long time for Lucifer to kind of get back to full strength. Would Jack have to do the same thing, siphon off other angels to get as powerful as him? I mean, that's a great way to leave off this season with Michael in Dean's body, because not only is he in his perfect host, he's as strong as he can be. There's no one around. I mean, Lucifer was the last potential, but there's no more archangels left to challenge him. Which is interesting, too, because there's still the whole storyline of like, well, let's not forget about heaven. They're in need of an archangel. Michael's here to be their leader and savior. Not what I expected. I expected it to be Jack. I mean, in the long run, maybe when it's all said and done, it might be Jack, because he might be the last one left kind of on the same level. I mean, especially because he represents both sides of humans and angels. That's something that, you know, Lucifer couldn't get his head around, because it's like, oh, these humans are lower than us. But for Jack, it's like, I'm literally part human. I won't let you look down on the humans like they're insects and stuff like that. But I can only assume if there's a new season, that would be like a big chunk of it. It's about the whole situation on Earth. I mean, I don't know if he would have the means of making angels, because once again, there's literally only like less than a dozen angels left. So that would probably be a situation. I mean, because also they believe in it. Like, Lucifer's one thing, but it's like, it's Michael, like the Archangel Michael. Obviously, they're going to back his play. So that means that angels potentially might be kind of a problem. But like, I don't know, maybe Michael could do it because he is in his perfect host. Lucifer, you know, because that does make a big difference between like being in just any other host and being in your perfect host, you know, and their perfect vessel like boosts their power like crazy. So like I said, there's nothing and no one, you know, it's like just lost Sam like the other episode before, and now he's back. It's kind of interesting because even Jack, when it came to the old Maggie situation, he's like, oh, there might be ramifications for doing it. Well, now we understand why he was hesitant to do it, because like if he brought Maggie back, then she'd be able to identify him as a killer. So that's the main reason why he was doing that now. But it makes you wonder, was there some truth to that? It's like, well, what about Sam? It's like, well, Sam's a special case. I guess it's just because Sam is this host that he is, or maybe it's a combination of it being slightly true, but not being 100% true, I guess. I'm just curious, will that kind of turn into anything or not for Maggie, her being like brought back like that? I mean, obviously Sam tried to talk to her, being like, yeah, I know it's a little weird. They've been through those circumstances. Not just this one time, they've been through that a lot. So I'm curious about that whole heaven situation next time. But also like going back to it, like the whole Jack situation, will his powers kind of regenerate quickly or not? I was kind of halfway expecting this to be an episode where like everyone comes together. Obviously they call Jody and stuff like that, but I thought like this is going to be, I mean, it's going to be everyone coming together next time, because it's like Dean's in trouble, and they're gonna have to find a way. I mean, it's going to most likely turn in that situation of, well, do we kill Dean? I mean, they have to stop Michael, but that would also mean, like, are they gonna pass up a chance to kill Michael if it means also putting Dean down too? You know, so they're probably gonna try and find a way to separate the two, which kind of happened before. It's interesting because let's not forget, even though he's here, there is still Michael that's locked up in a cage. He gets talked about here and there, but he's there. So if they can find a way of separating two, I don't know how you would do that. I mean, I'm sure it's going to come down to Dean too, like having to force his way out. But I mean, even then, it's not going to be the easiest thing. So many other storylines this season too. Is the whole situation with the Kaya situation, the her from the other reality sneaking in. Like, that's a storyline we have not gone back to touch at all. So I'm curious, like, what that's all about and what she's going to do while she's here. Cause we don't know what she's like in comparison to the other guy. Like, is she like, was that just kind of like I'm trying to escape this terrible world I'm in? Or is she just kind of like, is she come here to do her own thing of kind of ruling? I mean, there's so many questions. Also, another question I was bringing up too. What state is hell going to be in now? Like, you know, Asmodeus is gone, so I'm guessing some lower ranked demon is kind of like, well, I'm the next one in line. I'm the next most powerful demon, so I'm kind of running things now, potentially. So I guess there's going to be a new Crowley stepping up, potentially, I would assume. Get a leader with some charisma, because all the princes of hell are dead now, so that's kind of interesting. Now, also, Lucifer himself is dead, so whoever steps up to the throne really won't have to worry. I mean, I'm sure there'll be other demons coming at the throne. It makes you wonder, hell's probably going to fall apart now because they don't really have a king, but I'm sure they'll get another king eventually. But, I mean, I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting going forward, because it's also brought up an interesting thing that Dean had talked about. It's like, oh, yeah, like getting out of retirement. I mean, going into retirement, because it's like, oh, do it once they know all the world has kind of been purchased. Like, oh, if we can do that, the person who can do that potentially would be Jack. But now he's in Michael. Michael wants to purge all the world of evil, but his way will lead the world to being the way it is in the other way. But it's like, no, second chance. Which is interesting because that's kind of like the main theme of this episode. Lucifer wanting a second chance with his son, and even Jack wanting his second chance, you know, trying to make up for all the mistakes they made. So, like I said, I do not know if this is getting renewed for a, crazy to say, 14th season. But I'd be so interested to see, you know, what all that could take us into a new season. Now a lot of new allies gained in this season, along with everyone from that other reality. Also, I completely forgot about it. You had Ketch off doing his own thing, so that's interesting. But you also had Charlie and Rowena kicking it off somewhere else too. That's kind of just, it's like, even Bobby's like, yeah, you know, it's just like, really, oh, that's going to be kind of a thing all on its own, which is like, I'd love to find out what Rowena and Charlie are up to. That's so interesting. Also, that's interesting too, because Rowena's like had a big fear. I mean, obviously, I'm sure her and Sam are super glad to hear about Lucifer being dead. That's a big relief for both of them, because he's always him being a constant nuisance to others. It's just crazy to think about. The fact is that he is dead now. That's crazy to think about. So obviously that's a good thing, but like I said, there might be ramifications for that too. There's also the other side of things. Once again, let's not forget about the whole Billy situation. Billy, now that she's dead, knows a lot more than she was going to let on. So she knew that Dean was going to play an important role going forward. I guess one of those roles is being Michael's vessel so they could kill Lucifer, but also whatever it is coming up. Because don't forget, I'm sure I keep forgetting what it is, and it's something I brought up fairly recently. It's been a while, but I can't remember exactly. But it's those things that Asmodeus was trying to release that even Lucifer was like, nah, let's not mess with those things. Even he was scared of those things because they're too uncontrollable, that he tried to get Jack to awaken. So there's that. So it begs the question, is that going to potentially play? Is like Michael going to try and resurrect those things or not? There's also the big empty. Once again, that thing has been brought up one episode. I'm curious to see if that's going to make a comeback or not. I mean, because angels in it, once again, it's like angels and demons go there, right? So Lucifer is potentially there. I mean, there's no getting around that. So, I mean, he won't have to worry about it. There's no way he's coming back because Jack's not going to try and bring him back. It's like, nope, you're a dick. You're not my dad, you know? Like the Winchesters and Cass. Well, the Winchesters also include Mary, but obviously are his family. So I would assume, kind of going back to it, I would assume Billy would be one of the people they'd go to for help, potentially, with this whole situation, because obviously she knows more. Obviously, she's not going to say a lot. And there's also the whole other storyline of like, oh, how is Rowena going to die? She's going to die because of Sam. Under what circumstances? I don't know. Maybe it's going to be a situation of Rowena has to sacrifice her life to make sure, like for whatever spell they're trying to do, to make sure that Dean gets saved, or maybe he forces Sam to kill her, whatever the circumstances. Maybe I want to think it's probably more likely the former rather than the latter. Like it's like, oh, it's part of a spell. It's like she has to be sacrificed to make sure that Dean is saved, and that comes down to it. Like I don't know. It's one of those sad situations of like knowing someone's fate ahead of time is always a scary thing, because Rowena knows that Sam will always be the one that put her down, but still keeps their relationship interesting. I mean, it's that thing of like, well, can you even change fate? Like those books are kind of written in stone and there's no going back for them. So it's going to be interesting to see, what kind of comes all of that too. This is the first time we've ever had the Winchesters be separated for a long time in their own like particular right. Well, not necessarily. I am forgetting. Like, let's not forget about Dean having the Mark of Cain. Like he go kind of off on his own with Crowley doing that. But it's just kind of interesting. Well, it's just interesting to think that they are kind of on their separate roads in this particular case, which I always love. Like it doesn't happen all the time, but I love that they play the Wayward Son. Isn't that the name of that song? Because they do not play it all the time, and I'm always I'm a little butthurt every time they don't play, because I'm like, I love that. It's such a catch, because I always associate that song with Supernatural. I've heard it outside of Supernatural and other things, but every time I hear it, I'm like, ah! That's why I'm always mad when they don't break it up at the beginning of a season or like at the end of one, but because there are quite a few seasons they didn't do it, but nevertheless, that's a tangent all on its own. So like I said, I'm really hoping that they are bringing this back for a 14th season. Really hoping that they do, because I'd be so excited to see what they do with the 14th season, especially with all that they've set up with this finale. So, but really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.